This band took funk, rap, hard rock, and incredible melodies and smashed them together, creating a sound that defined a decade. So how did this team of misfits from San Francisco not only get on MTV, but confuse the entire world and change rock music forever? And yes, it's 100% true. For 5 minutes, they had Courtney Love as their lead singer. This is the insane story of Faith No More, and we're breaking it down in just 5 minutes. This story starts with the band changing their name over and over again. First, they were Sharp Young Men, then Faith No Man, but when they fired their singer Mike the Man Morris, they landed on the ultimate troll name, Faith No More, because the man was gone. The early 20s were a revolving door of singers. You won't believe this, but for a very short time, a pre-whole Courtney Love was their frontwoman. But things didn't get serious until they hired the legendary Chuck Mosley. With him, they dropped 2 albums that were raw and totally insane, mixing punk, funk, and metal like no one else. Their song, We Care A Lot, was a massive underground hit that made fun of celebrity charity songs. They were building something huge, even if no one knew it yet. But by 1988, they fired Chuck, leaving a giant hole in the band. They needed a new singer, and they found an absolute legend. They hired Mike Patton from his insane experimental band, Mr. Bungle. And get this, he was only 21 years old, and in just a couple of weeks, he wrote every single lyric for their next album. That album was 1989's The Real Thing, and it was a global event. While other bands were stuck in the hair metal scene, Faith No More dropped an album that was impossible to ignore. It was heavy, catchy, weird, and it had epic. Epic was their secret weapon. It had giant piano hooks, heavy guitars, funk bass, and a rap verse that exploded into the biggest chorus ever. The music video with its flopping fish was suddenly on MTV 24/7. Overnight, Faith No More were global superstars. The Real Thing went platinum, and the band was on every magazine cover. They dragged their weird sound into the mainstream. But for a band that hated fitting in, being this famous was their biggest challenge yet. After having a massive world-changing hit like Epic, what do you do next? Any other band would have just made Epic Part 2. Faith No More did the craziest thing possible. They made Angel Dust. Released in 1992, Angel Dust wasn't just a follow-up album, it was a declaration of war on the mainstream. This album was darker and a million times weirder. The funk and rap were buried under creepy noises and music from all over the world. The first song, Land of Sunshine, is built around terrifying self-help tapes. It was bizarre, it was aggressive, and it was a work of genius. Mike Patton gave one of the greatest vocal performances of all time, going from a soul singer to a screaming monster in the same breath. Critics called Angel Dust a masterpiece and one of the most important albums ever. Songs like Midlife Crisis and A Small Victory were praised by everyone. To this day, fans say it's their best album. But this came at a huge cost. The album was so weird, it scared away their new fans. Even worse, it shattered the band from the inside. The guitarist, Jim Martin, hated the new sound and felt like he was being ignored. The creative genius that made the album so good was now tearing them apart. After this tour, Jim Martin was fired, and the band's most famous lineup was destroyed. In the years after, they kept changing. They hired Mr. Bungle's guitarist for 1995's King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime, an album that switched between hardcore punk and smooth R&B. Then they hired another guitarist for 1997's Album of the Year, which was much darker. Critics loved these albums, but they didn't sell. The world was changing, and Faith No More, the ultimate outsiders, were back on the outside again. In 1998, after changing music forever, they just quit. For over a decade, Faith No More was gone. The members did other things, and Mike Patton became a god in the experimental music world with bands like Fatamus and Tomahawk. But while they were away, the Faith No More legend got bigger and bigger. A whole new generation of bands started popping up, and they all had one thing in common. Bands like Korn, Deftones, and System of a Down all said Faith No More was their biggest influence. Korn's guitarist said The Real Thing totally changed his life and showed him there were no rules. The singer for Papa Roach called them the original nu metal band. And Slipknot's Corey Taylor said seeing Epic on TV literally saved his life. Faith No More wrote the rulebook for an entire generation of bands. Then, in 2009, the impossible happened. The band reunited. They toured the entire world, and in 2015, they released Soul Invictus, their first album in 18 years. It was an incredible comeback, but then everything fell apart again. In 2021, the tour was canceled because Mike Patton revealed he was suffering from severe mental health issues, including agoraphobia. As of right now, in 2025, the band is on a semi-permanent hiatus. Things are bad. The drummer recently said he feels Patton went from being unable to tour to being unwilling to play with Faith No More, even though he's touring with his other band, Mr. Bungle. The future of one of the world's most important bands is a complete mystery, and nobody knows if they'll ever play again. Faith No More's story is an insane ride of genius, fighting and leaving a mark on the entire world. They showed you don't have to follow any rules to win. If you want to see the stories of more game-changing bands from the 90s, smash that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. And tell me in the comments which band I should break down next. So who were Faith No More? A funk band? A metal band? A pop group? The answer is yes to all of it. They were all of it and none of it. They were the band that made it cool for metalheads to like keyboards and for rockers to love pop melodies. They made MTV play a video that made your parents think you were insane. They never, ever fit in. And because they refused to be put in a box, they changed everything. They were the weirdos who won. The misfits who built a legacy by accident. And now I have to ask you guys, the Gen Xers and Millennials who were there, was Faith No More the greatest band in alternative metal or just the weirdest? Put it in the comments and let me know.